Right. Good morning, and thank you for having me. Welcome to this amazing city and country that's been my home for the last 6 months. We're sorry we couldn't organize a warm summer week for you. We'll try better tomorrow. Um, I want to talk to you today really about a child I met almost exactly 1 year ago. I was traveling at the southernmost tip of India, a place called Kanyakumari. This is where the Indian Ocean meets the Arabian Sea, just north of Sri Lanka. This boy's name is Dharmaraj. He was 10 at the time that I met him. He comes from the lowest of India's low castes. It's a caste called the Arundhatiyars. Even other low castes oppress the Arundhatiyars. And when I met Dharmaraj, he had just been through the most amazing experience. Dharmaraj is fortunate, because despite coming from this low caste, despite coming from a poor family, thanks to the work of a local NGO there, his family has an adequate livelihood, he has access to education, to healthcare, etc. But a month before I met him, his mum sent him to the market to check if what we call in India the ration shop, the public distribution system, check whether the shop was open. So Dharmaraj got on his bicycle and went off to the market. When he got there, 4 teenage boys from a middle caste decided that it was not okay for Dharmaraj to be riding a bicycle because he was from a lower caste. He was acting above his station. So for the crime of riding a bicycle, Dharmaraj was hauled off his bike, thrashed to within an inch of his life, blindfolded, tied to the back of that bicycle, and dragged all over the marketplace. And really, for me, the lessons that Dharmaraj taught me with this, you don't need me to remind you, you know this. You've met hundreds, thousands of Dharmarajas. That even when we get the service delivery right, even when you fix the livelihood, fix the school, fix the health center, fix the roads, fix all of that, that the barriers to real social justice, to real empowerment, take much more than service delivery. What it needs, we know, you know, is that genuine community empowerment. Your campaign, the I Am Powerful campaign, demonstrates that, demonstrates your understanding of that, demonstrates your commitment to it. In Dharmaraj's case, what might have become 5 years prior, either a boy that dropped out of school, never went back again, a family that retreated into its historical position of exclusion, didn't. Instead, they had access to the legal system. Those 4 teenage boys were actually prosecuted. Dharmaraj stayed in school. There was no caste violence, all of that. This is a story that replicates itself around the world, in every part of the world that you come from, in every part of the world that we live in. Right here in Johannesburg, we see this story. The people that are most impacted by the decisions people like us make, that our governments make, that are made in the UN, in the G8, in the G20, in the WTO, in the WHO, in the blah yak, wherever you want to go, have no voice in those decisions. And fundamentally, that, to me, is what empowerment is about. It's about us breaking those pathways, opening up those forums, bringing those voices to the tables that they have a right to be at. It takes, you are uniquely positioned to do this because you are engaged at every level. You are not just a talking shop at one end, somebody that is coming up with theoretical solutions to problems. You're not just an excluded minority, marginalized group living in a forest somewhere about to be displaced by a biofuel plantation. You actually operate through the line, and that, to me, is your power. It's your strength. The fact that you have the direct connection at the grassroots, where you can and do, I hope, actually confront not just the symptomatic things, not just the absence of the school, not just the missing doctor, not just the health center that's not functioning, but the root causes, caste, race, gender, marginalization of various kinds. And that you can bring those voices, not just amplify them through your words and deeds, but actually provide them a direct channel to where it counts. We know what it takes. It takes awareness, it takes community mobilization, it takes capacity building. But I want to talk today about something else. I want to talk about institution building and what it takes for us, organizations like ours, to transform ourselves into becoming effective advocates. And I want to talk really about the effectiveness, how we can magnify, amplify our own effectiveness through coalition building. What it takes fundamentally, and this is a decision that you need to make, are you willing to share or even relinquish your authorship of what you are doing? Are you willing to relinquish control? Are you willing to be one of many rather than the front runner? Are you willing to relinquish credit? Are you willing to relinquish autonomy? And are you willing to invest the much, much larger amounts of time and patience that it takes to achieve that kind of transformative change rather than the one that can be easily ticked off on check boxes that said, started the school, got the teacher, trained the da-da-da-da. It means fundamentally not just changing our organizations, but changing who we are. And I want to talk to you about my own personal experience in this. I spent the 12 years in the corporate sector. I had my MBA. I had the usual arrogant MBA type. And so when I moved to this sector, I assumed that I was going to save this organization from itself. It's going to make it much more efficient, effective, productive, get all those models and spreadsheets in place that they lacked. I ran straight into a brick wall. And then I came in every morning and ran straight into that brick wall again, till I learned, that there was a way out of this massive headache that I would end each day with. And that was that this was not about intellect. This was not about theories. This was not about models. Till I learned to actually respect and value the skills that my colleagues brought to the table, the ones that were not as articulate, the ones that didn't have necessarily the fancy flowcharts, whose natural medium was not PowerPoint. Till I learned to genuinely value that, I came in every morning and ran into a brick wall. Luckily, I'm such a perverse, arrogant, cussed person that I refuse to stop. And so maybe about a year later, I finally realized what it took.